welcome back to the Mauve Coaching Podcast. This is episode 4, and we have the lovely 𝐩𝐞𝐫𝐼𝐻.
Hello, everyone.
So her real name's Kate Hewitt, but
Yeah.
𝐩𝐶oaching with the K.
That's it. I actually always cringe when people say it. It's so funny. Like, it was always like, 𝐩𝐶oaching. I don't know how I think it was my mum that actually came up with it. So
Iconic.
so we were all trying to, like, figure out, like, what I was going to, like, call myself, essentially, when I was launching my online coaching. And I don't know, we were just like, we wanted the alliteration anyways, definitely. And we were trying to get it. And I think it was Mum that came up with 𝐩𝐶oaching. And then for it to be spelled then with a K, you know, like K and K. I was in Tenerife last summer. I lived there for the summer, and Sam, shout out to you, Sam, would always call me like 𝐩𝐶oaching, and I used to cringe so much. It was just so funny, like
oh my god, who is she?
Yeah, no, but it was just so funny. It was like we'd be on nights out and we'd be like, watch 𝐩𝐶oaching like that. And I was like, oh my god, go away. Like, it's just so
That's
funny.
the Irish mentality though. Like,
it's just
like,
hilarious.
you don't want like the tension. It's like, who do I think I am?
No, literally, I cringe at it so much. And then the lads would just be taking the piss, like, so they're like, oh, watch 𝐩𝐶oaching or whatever.
I actually started my page as Mauve because that was my nickname growing up. Like for the last, I'm going to say 7 years as an adult, because I wasn't allowed to like personalize my room much. It was all red, which is obviously a disaster.
Oh my
Disaster.
God.
I think
red.
that's why I've gone full send, as I like to say. Because like when I was working with my friends yesterday, shout out to you, David, if you're listening. And like not just him, everyone who ever sees my setup is just like, whoa. Like they're like, your glasses are pink, your laptop stand, your iPhone stand, your laptop, your mouse, your keyboard, your bag, laptop case, everything. Anyway.
Water bottle.
It's a bit much. But we've since migrated to Mauve coaching because it would have been a bit much. Mauve coaching, a bit too much.
Mauve coaching. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful.
I prefer the short and sweet, but people do actually call me Mauve, like English-speaking people. And I'm okay with it.
And they call you like May as well here. It's so cute.
Yeah, I go by May. That's usually because I introduce myself as that. Because even English-speaking people like from Australia say, they just find that extra V sound that bit too much.
It is, yeah, no, people do find it really hard.
It's really not hard.
Weird.
It's probably one of the longest one-syllable names you'll ever come across.
I think it's just obviously we don't find it hard to say because we're Irish. Like yeah.
But sorry, sidetrack. So this is, I knew this is going to happen. This is what happens when you bring your best friend on the pod.
No, like literally, guys, we are like, we were like chatting before and we haven't seen each other all week because we're literally the same.
But I'm moving in with her on Sunday, so that's about to change.
I can't wait.
Very quickly. Like we'll be once again tied at the hip.
No, like we are literally tied at the hip. And you're staying for Christmas.
And I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Not me crying on the pod.
Oh God, we have officially made that official. Well, that was always the plan. This is the Mauve Coaching Podcast, where we discuss all things life, career chats, mental health, emotional health, obviously health and fitness, and traveling too. So obviously a lot of these things we have in common. So I thought, who else would I get on to have as my first guest than 𝐩𝐶oaching? So I'm super excited for this one, but it's very much going to be informal in the sense that we'll be chatting through all things to do with our life, our coaching, what got us there. I think would be a really good starting point. Obviously, you guys, if you've listened to the first 3 episodes of me speaking solo, I went into depth in that one. So I think it'll be interesting to see, firstly, what got you into coaching? Like, what started your journey in this world?
Yeah, okay. So I was always into sport growing up and was always, like, doing something. So horse riding was the main thing for me growing up. I was doing horse riding since I was, like, 4 years old, which is ridiculous. Like, Yeah, literally, like, I remember my dad was building the stables down in, say, our local, you could say it's our local, like, equestrian centre, and there's a picture of me down there, like, on a horse at, like, 4 years old. It's absolutely mad, but my granddad was massive into horses as well, and we were just surrounded by them growing up, and then I had a really bad fall when I was, like, 7.
Oh shit, I didn't know.
Yeah, I had a really bad fall when I was 7 and just got a fright. And I was like, no, I'm never going on a horse again. That was it.
Yeah.
Career over. And I think I remember like a week later, my granddad was selling a horse and he was like, get up on that horse there and show that he's quiet.
Get in, just in there.
And literally, a red towel thrown up the horse and I was just thrown up, like, do you know what I mean? And I was like, that was it again, fear.
Isn't that a saying? Like, get back up on the horse.
Yeah, actually. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Never thought of it like that, but the fear was quickly taken out of me. It was grand. Like, I went back then properly when I was 10. And I did that for most of my teenage years, you could say. And then when I was in secondary school, I was big into athletics, actually. And also did rugby for a while as well. And then we went to the gym in TY in school. And that's where I found my love for the gym. And I always knew I wanted to do a personal training course, like always. But it was always like the thing to do on the side. So everyone was like, get your degree first, you know, and you can have that on the side and you can do that after you get your degree. You know? So
it's not safe enough.
No, exactly. And I really did believe that. You know what I mean? Even, I suppose, like my parents, I'm really, really lucky. Like, my parents are so supportive with anything, like any of us would do, like, or any choices we would make. They support us regardless, like, you know. So I was very lucky to grow up in that environment,
yeah,
you know.
Supportive environment.
Yeah, really, really supportive. Like, genuinely, I could be like, okay, Dad, I'm going to space there in the morning, and he'd be like, okay, unreal.
How are we gonna get you
there?
there?
Yeah, literally. You know what I mean? Like, they really. Yeah, I'm just so blessed with my mum and dad, but I suppose it was actually me that put the pressure on myself. Like, to go to college and to get high points, and completely attached my self-worth to like how many points I was going to get in the leaving cert. Literally, like, went to begged my mum and dad, not begged them, but I was like, I'd love to go to tutorial. It was a grind school, and they were like, yeah, no problem. Like, went to the grind school for 6th year, and all I saw was like primary school teaching, and I was like, if I don't get that, like, my world is over, like, you know. So I was literally in school, like 9 to 9, putting so much pressure on myself to get these grades, get these points, and yeah, nothing else mattered. Like, that my entire self-worth was based on those points. Guys,
we relate to that on this pod, don't we?
I didn't even want to do primary school teaching. Like, I actually didn't even want to do it. Like, it's mad. Like, it was literally just because I knew I wanted to do teaching. Okay, so I actually did want to be a teacher.
In some shape or form.
Yeah. Well, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. You know, I thought I wanted to be a secondary school teacher, but because in order to be a secondary school teacher, you have to do arts first.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
Arts was like lower points. And because arts was lower points, I was like, no, I'm not putting that down. Like, I was actually like embarrassed because it was lower points. Like, I was embarrassed to say to people that I was going to be doing arts, because I thought people would like laugh at me for doing arts because it was the lower points. Like, how, like, it's actually, like, even looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, like, that is just such an awful way to think, but that's the God's honest truth.
But that, you were young, and like, we're influenced by our environment hugely at that point. So like, that's not your fault. It was the culture at the time. I think it's since, you know,
I think it is
progressed.
Since, definitely progressed. Thank God.
Because
like, you know,
people are starting to see that, like, well, firstly, your leaving cert does not define you.
No, it
and
doesn't.
Like, oh, I wish I could go back to.
Were you the same, Maeve? Like, were you the same? Like, yeah.
This is why I think we connected so much.
Yeah,
because,
like, straight away.
Like, yeah, we can get into that now, because actually someone asked that when I put up the thing yesterday.
How did we meet?
When and how did we meet? Because I think people think that, I don't know if you've watched her podcast on it, but like, we'd only met 3 days before that, not even 2 days, and it's like electricity, I guess you could say.
Oh my God, we only met 3 days before my podcast.
Not even. So it was the Thursday, and then we did it on the Saturday. And we did a leg session before, like, went full send.
Sorry, that's mad.
I know.
Like, I honestly feel like I have known you for years.
It's been like 2.5 months now, has it? No, less. Because I've been here 2.5 months, so 2 maybe.
How long does that mean I'm here like 3 months?
Yeah.
Sweet mother.
Yeah.
Whoa, that time just absolutely flies, doesn't it?
We were talking about this, and you say it a lot in your stories too, is that time here, it's a bit confusing and disorienting, to say the least, because it simultaneously runs away from you, but also feels like you said, like yesterday that we met, but then also like, oh, what?
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't know if it's the same back at home.
No, it's just, I think it's because
there's no seasons here.
There's no seasons. That's why.
Well, there's a rainy season.
Yeah, but like,
and it's not
we're
fun.
so used to that.
It's not, yeah, but it's not fun. It's like, I'd rather, like, if it turned to like snow, I'd be very happy.
To be honest, I actually really like it because I find it very therapeutic.
Yeah, but not when you're out in the bike.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the story the other day, but honestly, this week has been, look at us getting sidetracked. This week has been a freaking mare, and I was trying to be positive about it, trying to find the silver lining all week. And I can still find a silver lining in each and everything that happened, because that's just how my brain has wired, or I have wired it. But that's not to say that I haven't had like fuck's sake, I'm going to actually just give up today. And some days, I think I actually saw something saying some days when shit is just going wrong, take note. Just, it's trying to tell you something. That day might necessarily be your day. You don't necessarily have to power through it. And I think that's why sometimes we really struggle with that, because like we'll try push through the difficulties, which you should do to a certain extent, but like this week has been, So going back to that, nearly fell off my bike because someone crashed into me. Had loads of nightmares with chocolate protein shakes, which we won't even get into. Not one, but two. What else happened? I've just been having a mare on my period, just not having. I think it's like because of that, I'm more sensitive, because obviously of the phase of my cycle that I'm in. Yeah, we've just been learning to laugh it off.
Yeah, we're
go with the flow.
Yeah, we're very alike in the sense that like
there's no point.
It's weird, but like we stress ourselves out so much, like to a point where like it just like for me anyway, like last week I was like, this is ridiculous, like this is too much. Like I was stressing myself out, like doing so much, like trying to like, it's like this fear of failure that I have, and like I'm like, oh my god, if I don't get all these things done like now or yesterday, like it's like I'm driven constantly by this like fear of failure, which is a good thing. Like it's a good thing to a certain extent, but there needs to be a switch off time. And I was burning the candle at both ends. Like I was literally running off adrenaline from stress, like, which is just ridiculous. And then it was really like, I really had to pull myself back, because I was like, Kate, like I literally dreamed of being in Bali 2 years ago, owning my own online coaching business that I hadn't even done a PT course at this stage, but I had like this vision in my journal during lockdown. I was like, I'm going to own my own online coaching business and I'm going to live in Bali. Yeah. And like I literally wrote that in my journal every single day, and like it's actually insane, because I hadn't even done the course, but I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And like now I'm here. And I'm like, what's next? Go. And I'm like, okay, Kate. Like, yeah, it's like, it is a small bit of that, I would say, but it's also, I think I've always been like this in the sense of, like, always trying to do more and always trying to achieve constantly. Go. Like, trying to be the best version of myself, like, you know what I mean? All of the time. And like, I just had to take a minute. Like last week I just took a minute and I was like, girl, like you are living your dream right now. I was like, you dreamed of this for like 3 years. Can you just sit and take this in? Like, yeah. And ever since then, I've just been, it was like an epiphany, to be honest, lads. I was like, life is so short, and like a lot happened this year where like I've really realised that, like how short life is, and literally just being present and taking in the small moments of every day is so important. And it's funny, now since I have started doing that, like I do feel like I'm like, I laugh at my stress now. I'm like, what are you stressed about? You know? Yeah.
There's two things even from what you're saying there that like, so obviously you got the vibe probably from me so far from my pod that I'm also like that. And firstly, I didn't realize this. So I obviously always knew I had anxiety. I think we all have it to a certain extent, but you can be more an anxiously inclined person than another
Yeah.
person, and you can deal with things in different ways. Like some people are very proactive about things when they are anxious, so they very much like yourself and myself
like
try to deal
work.
with it by coping and controlling at least what they think that they can control. However, some other people procrastinate, and a really interesting thing that I read up on the other day was that our version of approaching anxiety and coping with it and like a fear of failure is more socially desirable than people who procrastinate, because procrastination, you know, you're deemed or looked at as being lazy, but in reality they're just two maladaptive coping mechanisms. Ours is just more, it seems on the surface, more functioning, and that is called high functioning anxiety. So I'm actually just going to get it.
Oh my God, you sent that to me.
Did I?
Yeah,
I do
was that
send.
the post?
I'm just going to get it up because I don't want to misquote anything, because it's actually written by
And it's
like
so
a
funny,
psychologist.
Like, people would say to me, they were like, "Oh, would you be an anxious person?" I'm like, "No, in grand." That's such an Irish thing.
Yeah.
It's like, do you suffer with anxiety? No. And I'm like,
Not at all.
fine.
I'm perfect. So look, okay, on the outside, so this is like, this is not my Hinge profile. I might as well be, because it's the exact same. On the outside, hardworking, perfectionist, punctual.
Yeah, you send this to me.
Punctual. I have issues with people who are late. Organised. Oh, yes. We know I'm organised.
Yeah, I'm
Detail oriented.
Yeah, you're
I will find a
extremely-
single,
Yeah.
a full stop missing. I will find
that's
it.
where we're different.
Yeah, but so there's other aspects, okay? But I'm
Okay.
ticking every box so far, which is very concerning. Competent. I'd like to say I'm competent.
Yeah.
Ambitious, obviously. On the inside, right? However, you worry. You feel like you're never good enough. Impatient. She's the most impatient girl.
Person ever.
Oh,
Ever.
difficulty
Bali's
relaxing.
testing me.
Difficulty relaxing. Like, I was reading this last night when I was trying to switch off. It was 10:30 and I still was doing work, which is don't.
Okay, me.
Don't practice what I preach, okay? Or don't practice
do as
what I'm saying.
Say
Say as I do. Do as I say, not as
I
I do.
That's what I always say to my clients.
And I was sitting there, right, trying to switch off, and I was like just fiddling with things, and like really, like, I don't have an anxious tic in terms of like my leg jiggling, but I think I'm developing one. So right, that nervous, irritable, tense, prone to freaking headaches. My whole life.
You're getting headaches all this week.
Meltdowns, never. Overwhelmed, self-doubt, fear of failure.
Yeah, so
People
that's
pleasing is
mine.
also one.
Oh.
Sorry, not to be like outing you,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
no,
where we
I am
that's
a
where we
people
differ.
pleaser.
That's where we differ.
Yeah,
I'd say. Burnt out.
I'm trying to work.
Sorry, I'm still going.
Burnt out.
And then that's also one that you relate to.
Yeah.
Difficulty sleeping. Do you struggle sleeping?
To be honest, no.
No, I don't struggle getting to sleep, but I wake up feeling more well
Not
rested sometimes. Like this
sometimes
week,
I
for
wake-
example,
yeah.
I've been like,
Yeah.
I can't do it this week.
This week, like, I've been waking up with like a really sore throat and like just like not functioning that well until I like wake myself up. But like I have came to the realization that like I needed help, like I needed to reach out to someone. So I started therapy this week and I went to one session and it was absolutely amazing.
It's honestly invaluable. I was even saying this to one of my clients just yesterday, and I mean, once again, say as I do, not as I.
What is it?
I can't with my brain
Do
today.
as I-
We're calling this day Fried Fridays from now on, because our
Yeah.
brain is, we're burnt out because we're high functioning anxiety individuals. But I was literally saying to my client, I was like, and it's obviously rich coming from me, because right now I'm not seeing a therapist because I have so typical. I have so much to do, but it's something that I'm going to literally now, because you've done it. As I said, we're the same. So
Yeah.
I'm actually going to get back into it, because it's one of those things that it's not an emergency tool in your toolkit in terms of dealing with your mental and emotional health, but it's often viewed as that. And like earlier this year, when I was going through the ringer, as we've discussed before, I did start seeing therapy. It massively helped. And then I stopped once I was like, right, okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I stopped because I knew I've done so much of my own research. I just needed a little bit of guidance. But in saying that, I said to my client as well, like, it's something that every emotionally healthy individual should have, if not weekly, at least monthly. You know, at least make it a monthly thing, because like, especially if you're in a relationship, you don't even need to do couple counselling because we're obviously young, but like if you both are seeing a therapist separately,
you
massively
can,
you can come together and just be like, okay, so this is where we're going wrong. So I think, especially in both of our cases, it's like high functioning anxiety, how to deal with it, how to not feel guilty when we're switching off, when we know our to-do list is the length of our arm.
Yes, you're always going to have a to-do list. So this is the thing that I'm trying to succumb to, that the to-do list is always going to be there, and
or you'll find something to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll fill your to-do list.
Yeah. So like I just thought that like I was like, I'm grand. Like I kept saying to myself, I'm fine, you know? And
on the outside.
But like I genuinely thought I was fine. Yeah. Like I was like, I'm coming to Bali, I'm flying it. Fear of me, like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I've so much to be grateful for, and I was like, there's nothing, like, I'm grand, like, do you know, and
be grand.
Yeah,
the most Irish saying gonna come out of this
Irish, yeah, but like, I think as well, like, I couldn't understand. Basically, ever since I've gotten to Bali, all I've been doing is working, like work, which I wanted to do. Okay, so I was like, this is grand, like this is what I want to do, blah blah blah. But it was getting to a point where I was like constantly burning myself out, like through work, and I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, I'm so like emotionally drained. I can't speak to people. Like I'm honestly just burnt out, and I just was on this hamster wheel of like work, and I came to the realization that I hadn't dealt with a lot of emotions. I'd been like suppressing them.
People cope with the way they can, you know, with the tools that they have at the time.
Yeah, basically my therapist actually that I was speaking to said that like emotions don't go away, but so no matter how much you suppress them, like they don't go away and they will pop up, is what she was saying.
Oh God, yeah. You can't, otherwise everyone would just suppress their emotions. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to deal with that shit?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
I don't want to feel like shit.
Yeah, she was like, obviously that was the way I was dealing with it at the time. I was like, oh, it's grand, it's fine. That's why I was like, I wouldn't say I was like working. Okay, no, I was working a lot. And
so I thought, this is why we bond. So I thought that I was like a very much unique human that just like works themselves to the bone, like because of my anxiety. And I met Kate, and I was like, we're going to be a recipe for disaster. She's like, you're working longer than me, and I'm going to feel like I need to work longer.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, I think,
But that was your way of coping, so that's why you were thrown into it more, probably.
Yeah, I think, maybe.
But also, it's just our personalities, really.
Yeah, I think it's just my personality. I love... No, hard work it's a good thing to have.
We're not trying to knock it. It's just finding a balance.
But it is finding the balance, and it is... Don't use it to run away from your emotions, essentially.
No, I did that too. Like, I've done that a lot, actually, to be honest. Like, sure, what did I do this summer when I was going through it too? Threw myself in the deep end with all things life, moved to Bali, started my own business. And, you know, while my reasons behind that were very much thought out, the timing of it was probably accelerated because I needed something to redirect my focus on, because while I was working through the motions, like I said, I very much threw myself in the deep end in terms of healing, and I have come out the other end now. Like I actually really have. Like I'm completely, I was even just thinking on my bike this morning, this is going to sound a bit rogue potentially, but I was just thinking like the past version of myself, I feel like is fully dead. And like I killed her.
That's insane.
Like it's so weird to look at myself that way, but I just fully can't resonate or relate to that version of me anymore.
Yeah.
And it really freaks me out how different. I'm not saying like I've transformed my life in all respects. Like there's so many work on still, but
there's always going to be that.
It's just bizarre. I'm like, who was that girl?
Yeah.
Like bless her. Like I want to give her a hug, big time. Like that's my like inner child's wounds that I'm speaking to when I think of that. But it's so weird just thinking like I was passing a rice paddy field that I would have passed when I was in this really negative, low headspace, and just kind of coming back to places in Bali that I was once such a different person. It's really eye-opening, and that might happen for you too in a way that amazing. You know how long you're here for. You know, when you reflect on your first 2 months versus your last 2 months. You should go back to the same places, because honestly, if you are feeling like you're not progressing, or like you're getting frustrated with yourself that you're not as healed or as wherever you want to be in your business or in life, if you go back to a place that you were 6 months before that, you'd be like, God, 6 months ago, like you said, me would have been so gassed to be here.
No, but that's what it is, and that's
Perspective.
It's perspective and like slowing down. You know, that's my big thing now. I'm just like I'll wake up
I'm gonna
and
hold
like,
you to
okay,
that.
yeah, no, I'm genuinely really
Same.
working on it because I'm like, even this morning I was like, wait, when I woke up I was like, okay, usually my head straight away is like a million miles an hour, and I was like, Kate, just chill out. And I did. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And like, I just need to keep reminding myself, and like, I'm actually so much like, I'm way more calm, and I'm way more content, because I'm just like, all I ever wanted was to be here. And like, the more I'm realizing that I'm exactly where I wanted to be, and like, I'm literally
exactly where you need to be
living
as well.
my dream. Like, I'm literally like, oh my God, like, this is insane, you know?
But it's like, I was talking to my friend yesterday about this as well, and I had to go through this big decision making process, which I didn't realize, but a part of my healing would have been learning to make those decisions on my own,
And
confidently, and for myself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time in the past, I would have relied on other people to help me get there, because that's just how I was kind of conditioned, I think, in a way. And this was a really hard decision to make. And to be honest, I'm still like 90% there. We're going to have chats after this. But you have to learn to like validate yourself and like back yourself and trust in where you are meant to be, you will be. So if you look at it from like a soul perspective, your soul is literally guiding you to where you're meant to be. So there's no right or wrong decision. Like whatever decision I make, there's two, one or the other. Either way, I will end up where I'm meant to be. And it's so hard to believe in that, because
It's
I'm a
really
control
hard to
freak.
trust. Yes, see, this is the thing.
But like I have
we're
gotten
similar.
better. Like because I did not think I'd be here 6 months ago. I just went with that gut feeling that I was drawn back here. So I was like, okay, booking my flights despite my whole life being up in flames around me. I'm going to just move to Bali.
I'm just gonna go, yeah.
And it's like this analogy as well that I read, and it was like a little boy and a horse in a forest, right? And it's this massive, like very populated forest, so many trees, and you can't really see far in front of you. And the horse that somehow speaks asks the little boy, like, the little boy is like, I can't see the destination, like I don't know where to go, I'm panicking, I don't know, like I'm overwhelmed. And the horse is like, well, can you see your first step in front of you? And he's like, yes. And he's like, okay, so take that. So you can sometimes feel overwhelmed, and I think especially because of us, because we're both so ambitious, and I think a lot of people are, especially if you are high functioning anxiety individual. But if you see that goal, and I think she definitely relates to this, because I've had to like talk her down from it. If you have all these goals, which are amazing to have and important to have, you can sometimes get so caught up in the destination that like it seems so out of reach and overwhelming that you either procrastinate. So that applies to like fitness too. So relating that back to fitness, you see a goal, like your dream physique or whatever it is. And if you don't get it like this, you give up. Yeah. And I've had a few clients like that started, and their mentality, it's really hard to like iron that out, but it is possible, because if you just take the first few steps, drinking your water, eating your protein, all the little things, they add up, and then you'll get there.
And the time's going to pass anyway. That's the way I always say. Like, the time's going to pass anyway, so you may as well be doing a couple of things in the right direction rather than do nothing at all. And that's the way I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's more sustainable to do, like, it's the all or nothing mindset that everyone I think kind of has. It's like, you know, we want to approach things 110% or not at all, but that's not the reality of life. It's about, as they say, balance. But I know balance is thrown around a lot, and it's very much, sometimes it can seem completely like fiction, like
it's
fictional,
difficult.
like, because
difficult.
Like there's, how can you balance work, life, like romantic relationships, family relationships, social life, so many different variables. Like becoming an adult is in itself just a challenge. Like your 20s, you're still figuring your shit out. So like, no, but like it's our first decade of being adults, if you think about it. So why do we think we have to have it all figured out? I know. We were chatting about like mortgages the other day, and I was like, "Japers, lads."
Yeah, no one has it all figured out, and I think like, honestly, the way I always go into things, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I launched my very own like 𝐸𝐞𝐿 coaching webinar series, and I was holding back, and I was like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this goes wrong? I've major imposter syndrome, like, but I was like, if I don't do it, like,
but you don't struggle with imposter syndrome as much. So I was shocked by that, actually. I
didn't at the start, but like ever since coming, I didn't struggle.
Because that's one of the reasons that we don't relate on. she's helped me overcome it by starting this freaking pod.
Yeah,
And
actually, I didn't think of that.
yeah, so when you talk about it, sorry to cut across
No,
you,
you're
but
not.
it's weird for me to hear that being a thing. And I guess we all have to experience it to a certain extent, but you wouldn't normally, right?
I wouldn't see. It's weird. I wouldn't have normally. I wouldn't have experienced it to the extent I experienced it. I am experiencing it now, so I think it's because. The people I look up to in my field, like Amelia Thompson, Emma Story-Gordon, like are so.
I feel like I know these people
Yeah.
because she speaks about them so much, and I've like,
yeah,
I've never.
like the triage method,
I love
Gary
them.
McGowan, Brian, like all of them, and I'm like, I look up to them so much, and then I think it's like I'm a small fish in a big pond, like as in, I'm like
I have those as well. Like
Yeah.
I look at people, I'm like, wow.
I look at people.
It's not even from jealousy. It's just like I want to see. I can't wait to be there.
That's
because you're like
exactly-
my role model.
Yeah, they're like
It's important to have role models.
Yeah, they're my role models in the industry, and I suppose I just finished like EIQ, like I just did Amelia's like certified course and stuff on disordered eating, and like I know so much in it now, and I'm like, okay, I need to do another course, or do I need to do a master's in
Constant chase.
Yes, for validation in myself when I know that the only thing holding me back is myself. And like that's what everyone has told me around me. Like I remember emailing Amelia being like, do I need XYZ? Like, do I need this degree? Do I need this master's? And she was like, Kate, like you don't need, for what you want to do,
Just start and and then you can
have everything you need. You have all the
continue.
tools, like you know what to do. And I know that to a certain extent in myself. Like I know that I know enough, but it's just that doubt, like that self-doubt, and like again the imposter syndrome. But it's so funny, I'm such a weirdo. Like
She is a weirdo.
I am such a weirdo. I'm like, okay, I feel all of that anyway, but I'm doing it anyway. Like it's so weird.
Yeah, but
like,
well, that's not weird. I mean, that's life.
yeah,
We're gonna feel like you feel overwhelmed by absolutely everything. Sometimes even just drinking my water sometimes feels overwhelming if I'm having a bad day. But you just get through it. Like you have to. Otherwise, like you will cease to exist if
and
you
I
don't
think
have
that's
goals.
what I like preach to, like even when I was saying to you, Maeve, like Maeve was like, okay, like I was like, when are you starting the podcast? And then I literally gave her no time. I was like,
no, sorry. You gave me 2 days notice in terms of making one, and then I had 1 day to make it and edit and everything. Learn how to use iMovie.
yeah, like, but like the way I used to always see it is like that when push comes to shove,
Yeah.
you'll get it done, and that's the way I do
Diamonds
everything.
are built under pressure.
Yeah, that's the way
Although
I
I
do
don't
everything.
relate to that.
No, because you've everything done like
Yeah, in it like 2 months in advance.
yeah. Whereas I would be like 2 weeks in advance. I wouldn't
There's
be
a healthy
as-
balance. Like mine was not healthy because like when it came to like college and stuff, I'd always, say we had a deadline like March 16th, random date, I would try get it done February 16th. And then I'd have 2 months to like completely tear it apart and make it perfect. But it would be, like I was saying on the Health Huns podcast just the other day, like the added value from that, I would say, is even less than 1% extra, in the grand scheme of things, because, attention to detail is important, and something I do like about myself, because
yeah, it's an amazing thing to have.
yeah,
like
I don't want to knock it, because there's
use it
pros
to your
and cons to
ability,
certain
like,
strengths.
Use it to your advantage. I mean, sorry.
But when it consumes you, like I would get so worked up and say like I submitted something and then I reread my references or footnotes and I saw one full stop missing. That would really upset me. Not like I wouldn't lose my shit, like I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
but like
it
I'd
would
be like,
upset you.
oh, like
Why
it just
didn't
like
I
irks me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just learning to like use your strengths as your strengths and not let them turn into a weakness. Like my perfectionism can be used if done carefully.
Yeah.
As a strength in certain situations, but when it's like becoming my downfall, that's when I need to catch
think that's
myself.
where we like balance each other out, though.
Yeah. Perfectionism, I was thinking that's obviously mine. But what would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's weird.
And then I was like, well, maybe she doesn't have one. Maybe she's perfect.
yeah, no. I wouldn't say perfectionism.
People pleasing, is that like
People pleasing is
because they're two different like
my
yeah.
God, people pleasing. My whole life, like, people grew up, and my mom's a people pleaser, my dad's a people pleaser. Like, it was inevitable.
Yeah, you learn from that.
Yeah, and it was something I found really, really difficult, like at the start, like saying no to people and like, yeah, just being able to say no and like put myself first.
And
And like,
the sign of water, not.
you're
someone
fine.
peeing.
And set boundaries with people. And even now I struggle so much. So Maeve, I feel like you helped me a lot with that, where you're like,
Yeah.
like even now,
Oh.
like even to this day, it does. Like Maeve's like, you can just say no, Kate. And I'm like, oh God, I feel
But
so
no,
bad.
I love that you help me in that sense, and I help you in that sense, because a lot of
Yeah.
my friends, like even like one of our good friends, is also quite like you.
Yeah.
And since I think not since meeting me, because that would be giving myself a lot of freaking credit, but kind of since I've met her and since I've known her, I've seen a massive transformation in how she sets boundaries,
yeah.
and learning that disappointing other people your world won't end.
Yeah.
And like you have to establish boundaries for yourself. It's like the idea that if you protect your peace, if you work on yourself, establish boundaries, and you're a happier person because of it. If everyone did that, the world would be a better place. But because we all extend ourselves and exert ourselves just to please other people, then you're not showing up as your best self. You build resentment towards people, and yeah, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it really is. And like when I started seeing it as that, where I was like, I can't actually give enough to my clients because I'm not filling my own cup. Like I can't give enough.
I filled it for
like
you.
and give my week. But like because of my people pleasing, I wasn't filling my own cup and my own needs weren't being met, leading me to burnout and me being absolutely wiped, and then me not being able to give my 100% to my clients, you know what I mean, which I was like, I don't obviously want that going forward, like, you know what I mean. So that's when I started really learning to be like, okay, Kate, you really need to start setting boundaries. Do you know, other people saying yes to everyone, just being able to say no, and it's really hard. But at the end of the day, like you said, Maeve, like you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You know?
But it starts being hard, and then I think
it gets easier.
The more you do it, the more like second nature in a way comes. Obviously, you don't want to go the other extreme and be like just selfish. There's obviously a line. Like I'm not saying. No, actually, in a sense, you have to be selfish and kind of go the full extreme initially sometimes, so that
it
sticks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then you can kind of ease up once people understand and accept this new version of you. Because I think it can take time. Like I've even been struggling with people in my life coming to terms with who I am now since I've shown them the real me. Because while I've always tried to be authentic in certain scenarios, I've had to put on, like I was saying the other day, like a hat where like you have to act a certain way in different situations. And since I've kind of just shown up as my real authentic self with every person, no matter who they are, it's been jarring for them. And it takes time for people just to be like, okay, this is who they are and I'll have to accept it. But, you know, regardless of their acceptance, you plow on, because we don't live our lives to like fulfill this idea of ourselves in other people's eyes that they've made up of themselves. Can you do that?
Must be a high anxiety. I love that. High functioning anxiety.
Yeah.
No, I actually love that. Like, it's funny. Like, no, I should. Like, we should call the podcast.
You gotta call your own shit out before someone even wants to.
Like, I love it. It's like, oh, here comes the high functioning.
Here comes the high functioning anxiety girls. Yeah.
I love it. Like,
But if you're listening and not watching, this is something I really struggle with, is like, I'm very expressive. Like even just in the last one, there was flies running around and I was like swatting them. And I forget that everyone watches these. I think they're funnier to watch. So if you're listening right now, switch to the watching medium. You know, on your little...
I think it's easier to watch podcasts.
So one of the questions I got yesterday, as I said at the start, was like how we met. And I think it's quite funny.
Yeah, it is. It actually is.
And it kind of defines who our relationship still is to this day.
Yeah.
If you think about the chocolate on the nose.
The chocolate, the pancakes, how much we can eat. We're literally, it's so unreal how alike we are, because we don't even need to speak to each other. Like,
we just look at each other. It's like telepathy.
Know, yeah, it actually is.
What are you thinking right now?
And like, honestly...
Okay, she's going to tell the story about how we met. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was so nice when I had when I met Maeve. It was so unreal. How we met anyway was 𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐴. That's first of all how
Are
we
you
met.
𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐴?
Are you 𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐴? It's the most unreal place ever. Like, the protein pancakes there are insane. And I was with the Scoopy gang, and we were just having coffee or whatever, and basically there was loads of Irish all there. Pippa was there with Lily at the other side of the room. So we were all upstairs in 𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐴, okay? And like, the minute Irish people obviously hear the Irish accent, we're all like, are you Irish?
It's
like,
you can't help yourself.
No, you can't help yourself at all. And we were upstairs in 𝐸𝐻𝐿AA, and Pippa, one of our other really good friends, was sitting at the opposite end of 𝐸𝐻𝐴A. Maeve was at this end and I was in the middle. And like, it was so funny. We basically all ended up just talking to each other.
Like, really far away. And I was like, yeah, Pippa, this is Kate.
Yeah.
She's Irish.
And that's how it went. It's like, are you Irish? Are you from Cork? No way. Like, that's literally how it went. And then it's going through the mutual friends, the typical.
Like, oh no, we'll have to know. We'll have to have mutuals.
Yeah, always. And then
we didn't have mutuals, did we?
We didn't have mutuals, no. But then we ended up, basically, everyone had left and we ended up working together.
No, so I remember
side.
this. So this is also the day that I properly met Orla. So you wanted to leave to go to that, and Kate mentioned she was going, so I was like, sure, feck it, I might as well go. Start saying yes more.
Yeah.
And before we were even paying for our food, we were already just chatting so much shit, like, about like clothes, about how we both needed more. Like, it just was from like between the 5-minute walk from 𝐸𝐻𝐿𝐴 to Cafe Coach, we were talking about so much deep shit. I don't even know. It was about my imposter syndrome. We were already talking about
that. Like, it just felt like I'd known you forever, and like it was so nice for me because like I was saying, I was struggling so much. I've said that in my last podcast actually, about like when I initially came to Bali, and as like a really extroverted person, I was like, I'll be fine, I'll fit straight in, you know, because I can literally talk to the wall. But I didn't. Like,
Why did I look at the wall then? How you doing?
How you doing? When I was first coming to Bali, I really, really struggled, like, to meet friends, meet like-minded people. Didn't really connect with anyone, which I found really like weird, because I was like, anyone that had come to Bali that I'd seen like on Instagram stories and stuff like that, they'd all like met their Bali groups or their friends straight away, connected with people straight away, and I was just like, is there something wrong with me? Like, honestly, that's how I felt, and it was horrible. It was such a horrible feeling. But then I met Maeve, and
everything
honestly,
looked up from there.
No, honestly, like, it was just, oh my god, I can't. I finally, like, in Maeve, like, I'd finally just was like, it felt like home. Like, that's exactly what it was like. No, it genuinely was. Like, I was like, oh, I have my person now, I'm going to be okay. You know, that kind of way. That's how I felt straight away. And then it was so nice because I'd literally clicked with Maeve so much. Like, I started to feel so much, like, more at ease in myself. And I was like, I'm grand now. Like, I was like, I don't need to people please anymore. I'm fine. Like, there's fear of me. And then I was able to be myself. And then the more I was being myself,
the more you attracted your vibe.
Yeah.
Or was it?
Now we have
your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah. And now we have our little group, and it's so cute. Like,
great group,
it's actually unreal.
The idea of some of them leaving right now is too much for me to handle.
I'm in denial. I'm honestly in denial.
This is like the double-edged sword of Bali. It's like you meet so many incredible souls, like lifelong friends.
Back, though.
Yeah.
Pippa's
but it's
coming
just
back,
it's still just
coming
like
back. Orla coming back?
She's not coming back. I've tried to convince her already. Not convince her, but I was like, sure, you'll come back, and she was like, Maeve, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be. So it's sad, but as I said, double-edged sword of Bali. You meet all these incredible souls. But that's also a life lesson, is that people come into your life when you need to have them in your life. Not need, when it aligns. And you will always have that connection, even if they're like far away. But it's still no easier to say goodbye. And I don't even want to think about the goodbye. But I am getting a nice pink helmet out of her leaving, so it's fine. No, I'm laughing it off because I will cry.
I know. You can't leave me.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Also, can we appreciate that this is the first time I've not worn mauve in honour of my bestie, because this is somewhat close to her branding colour.
Basically how we met, and we've been
tied at the hip. That's our love story.
Yeah, we've been tied at the hip. But it honestly, like, it's mad. Like, I think I'm such a person, like, everything happens for a reason. And, like, I really, really, really believe, like, we were meant to be, like, what's meant to be will be kind of thing. So I'm like, we were meant to be together at the same time, you know?
So this is our official coming out story.
Yes!
No, we're just besties. Right, we have no minutes left.
Do we not?
No.
Oh my God!
Okay, so on that note, to wrap up, that was a very fun pod to record.
That was so fun because it was just like
us
this
chatting.
is the way we are.
Yeah.
This is like, I think this is what sums us up. Like, Mauve was going to send me a text the other day. She's like, I can't even voice note you because I'm that tired. And I was like, that is us.
Yeah.
That is
I was
us.
like mentally drained levels.
Speak. And I'm like, I get, like, that's, like, because we're literally the same. Like, this is me now.
There's no front. There's no, like, I think
words.
that's why we both appreciate the friendship, because we don't feel like we ever have to pretend to be something. And I always try, because she's still people-pleasing recovering.
Yes,
okay?
I am.
So sometimes I do have to say to her, you don't have to be, I know you're wrecked right now. You don't have to try be upbeat. And she's like, okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's our friendship in a nutshell. And I hope we discuss some things that relate to you, and I feel like they will, because it's quite interesting to kind of reflect on our similarities but also our differences, because obviously we aren't the same person, but that's yin and yang. You are the yin to my yang.
Yes, we do balance each other out, but I feel like we can't work beside each other.
No,
that's not balance, because
no
we can't, because we like genuinely
we're good for switching off with each other, because we both bond about how we're finding it hard to switch off.
Yeah, we don't feel bad, because if we're like being lazy together.
Yeah, lazy. It's gas. We still, like, you just put a post up the other day about this on your story. It's like, it's not being lazy if you're, it was on your TikTok, I think, and it was like, it's not being lazy if you're refilling your cup.
Oh yeah, I was triggered by it.
Yeah, so there you fucking go, right? We're not being lazy. Anyway.
Yeah, you're not.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. As I said, I hope you got some value from it. If not, or at the very least, you got some giggles out of our selves taking the piss.
High functioning. What is it? High.
So here come the high functioning anxiety girls.
Oh, I just love it. Like, I just love that. I think it's hilarious.
Right. That's my new outro. Will I make a song? High functioning
anxiety. I just think it's so funny because it literally is us. Like, yeah, I love it. I love that. I just get such a kick out of that.
Well, we shouldn't love it. It's genuinely something we need to work on.
I think it's funny. Look, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, we just like to highlight our flaws. So it makes you guys feel, I guess, less alone. You know, we're not perfect. No. Even though I'm a perfectionist, I know I'm not perfect, which kills me to say.
Rude.
Rude. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you got this far listening to our carry on, fair feckin' play to you.
Fair play.
Okay.
Over and out.
Over and out. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.